Why Greece collapsed financially and how it had to cut spending to rebuild, and when Greece will become a high standard of living country. Hi, welcome to another video. Today I am going to tell you the story of one of the most spectacular economic disasters of the 21st century. The financial collapse of the Greece, the dramatic spending cuts the country had to make to survive, and I will try to answer a question economists are asking more and more often. When can Greece actually become a country with a truly high standard of living? This is a story of a huge boom, hidden debt, dramatic reforms, social anger, and a slow recovery. A story all countries can learn from, including those that today are living beyond their means. So, how did Greece fall into a financial abyss? To understand why Greece collapsed, we must go back to the 1990s and early 2000s. At that time, Greece was preparing to enter the Eurozone. Official statistics looked great. Low deficit, controlled public debt, growing economy, and society looking toward the future with optimism. The problem was that a large part of these numbers was simply not true. Years later, after the crisis, it became public that some Greek governments had manipulated macroeconomics data to meet EU requirements. Public debt was higher than reported, the budget deficit was understated, and the state was spending an enormous amount of money it didn't actually have. We must look into deep structural problems. For years, the Greek economy relied mostly on tourism, services, construction, and the public administration sector. There was no strong industrial base, no large-scale export sector, and little innovation. In practice, Greece spent huge amount of public sector, salaries, pension, and government projects, far more than it could afford. Additionally, tax collection was very weak. Many businesses operated in the grey zone. Some professional groups traditionally understated their income, and the state looked the other way, because no one wanted to anger the voters. This worked as long as the economy was growing and interest rates were low. But when the global financial crisis hit in 2008, Greece was totally unprepared for the coming storm. 2009, the truth comes out and the world is shocked. In autumn 2009, the new Greek government announced something that shocked global financial markets. It turned out that Greece didn't have a budget deficit of a few percent of GDP, but more than 12%, and public debt was much higher than anyone believed. At that moment, investors immediately stopped trusting Greece. The yields on Greek bonds began to rise sharply, and this meant one thing. Greece could no longer borrow money, and when a country can't borrow money to pay its previous obligations, it begins its journey towards bankruptcy. Market shut down and first panic. By 2010, Greece had practically no money left to pay salaries, pay pension, fund healthcare, or service its debt. Without outside help, the country would have simply collapsed. The European Union and the International Monetary Fund decided to give Greece risky loans, but in exchange they demanded painful reforms, which we will discuss now. The biggest spending cuts in modern European history. Think of it this way. Greece had to fix mistakes that had been building up for the decades in just a few years. This meant massive cuts and reforms that shocked the entire society. Pension cuts. Many Greeks remembered this as the biggest shock. Pensions were reduced multiple times, in some cases by 40%. millions of people were affected. Public sector salary cuts, civil servants, teachers, police officers, and healthcare workers all had their incomes reduced. In many groups, salaries fell by 20–30%. Liquidation of thousands of public sector jobs. The state had to lay off workers, close offices, and merge institutions. Tax increases. The government introduced higher VAT, higher income tax, higher excess tax, special crisis taxes. Healthcare and education cuts. Many hospitals were merged, some were closed, schools' budgets were cut to the minimum. Privatization of state assets, ports, airports, and infrastructure were sold to raise money for debt payments. Social consequences. The hardest years since World War II. The scale of the crisis was so huge that economists call it the Greek Great Depression. It wasn't a normal recession. GDP fell by 25%, similar to the United States during the Great Depression of the 1930s. What did this mean for ordinary people? General unemployment above 25%, youth unemployment above 50%, thousands of businesses went bankrupt. Many Greeks couldn't afford heating or medicine. Hundreds of thousands of young people emigrated, mostly to Germany and the UK. Greece went through a trauma that left a mark still visible today. Did it pay off? The rebuilding of Greece? And now, an important question. Did this huge sacrifice achieve anything? The answer is yes. But the process was long and painful. What has Greece achieved? The budget was stabilized. Greece began generating primary surpluses, meaning the budget, excluding debt interest rate, became positive. The economy returned to growth. Tourism reached record levels. Export revenues increased. The country regained the trust of financial markets. Bond yields fell from catastrophic levels. Unemployment fell from 28% to around 10% plus. Foreign investment increased. Greece became more attractive to tech firms and modern services. All this means one thing. Greece survived and began moving into the right direction. But problems haven't disappeared. Even if Greece has gotten back on its feet, several major challenges remain. Public debt is still enormous. This burden will follow Greece for decades. The economy is still heavily dependent on services and tourism. This makes the country very vulnerable to shocks like the pandemic. Demographics. Many young people emigrated. The population is aging, increasing pressure on the pension system. Some reforms were never fully implemented, especially those aimed at improving tax collections and reducing the shadow economy. When can Greece achieve a high standard of living? This is the key question of this video. To join countries with the highest living standards like Germany, the Netherlands, or Scandinavia, Greece must achieve several things. First, diversify the economy. Greece needs to develop new technologies, light industry, high-value manufacturing, renewable energy, startups, and innovation. Second, keep young people in the country. Without this, there will be no new middle class. Third, improve the state and administration, less bureaucracy, more predictable laws, less corruption. Fourth, future stabilize public finances. Even though things are better, Greece's debt is still one of the highest in the world. So when? If current trends continue, economists estimate Greece may reach a high standard of living in 15–25 years, meaning around 2040, 2050, provided no major global shocks occurs. But some sectors like tourism and IT may grow much faster. If reforms succeed and young Greeks start returning home, the timeline could be shorter. Greece collapsed financially because it spent more than it earned for years, hid part of its debt, had a weak economic structure, collected taxes inefficiently. The crisis was severe: drastic cuts, lower pension and salaries, high unemployment, massive emigration. But thanks to the sacrifice of the society and support from the EU and IMF, Greece rebuilt itself. Today, it is more stable, growing, attracting investment, and tourism is booming. Will it become a high standard of living country? Yes, but it will take time, reforms, and the effort of the entire society. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you want another video about how other countries recovered from crisis, let me know in the comments.